It's a quiet epidemic plaguing seniors, a problem many would rather not talk about. Drug and alcohol abuse, more common than you may think. Mixing prescription drugs and alcohol can be a lethal combination. Depression and isolation can cause seniors to turn to alcohol and drugs for relief. Joining me to discuss this growing trend is Harry Morey, a member of the Governor's Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse. Welcome to the Best Years, Harry.
Thank you.
Now, I know you've had your own struggles with substance abuse throughout your lifetime. Is that part of what motivated you to become involved?
Yes, it is, and taking my own alcoholism and drug prescription problems, I had a desire to help other people not do the same thing.
How did you first recognize you had your own problem with alcoholism and drug abuse?
It was funny. Ironically, I was just sitting down in my den, which was my hidden cabin. You know, all alcoholics sort of have their own spot. And I was sitting down with the can of Shasta, which was actually filled with vodka. And I looked at it one day and I said, this is stupid.
You knew it was time.
And I started looking for a place to go.
So, the senior population, what are some of the causes of substance abuse among seniors? Can you talk to me a little bit about the problems with mixing prescription drugs and alcohol?
I always refer to it as the inadvertent addiction to alcohol and drug abuse. And not only that, but some people have the problem of just not, they don't realize what's happening, that alcohol and drug abuse are progressive problems. They're not something that hits you with a big bang right away. It's something that takes a period over a long period of time. And one can of beer becomes 2 cans of beer, 3 cans of beer, 4 cans of beer, 1 Prozac becomes 2, 3, and inadvertently you become addicted to them. And a lot of times you don't find out about it until you're sitting in the waiting room 4 or 5 hours, and all of a sudden you start having the chills and the shakes, and you're wondering what's happening, and you're actually withdrawing.
And are isolation and perhaps when a spouse dies in a couple, is that part of the problem? Perhaps if seniors are lonely or depressed, is that part of what gets them involved with drinking more?
Well, I actually never drank much until after I left Vietnam, and I got involved in politics. And when I did that, I was drinking to, you know, to sort of ease my little tensions that I was having, and going around to parties and having cocktails and whatnot, and then 1985, I came down with serious medical problems, and I started receiving physical and additional help from the doctors, and one thing led to the other, and I became addicted.
But for seniors who are in couples for a long time, they might be married for 50 years, and then suddenly one of the spouses dies. Is that part of what can get them leading towards having more? Oh
yeah, that's it. The people have been living together for all these years, and one of the spouses passes away, and they become lonely, and they're sitting home and they're drinking, and they're also taking their medication, their heart medication, and all this other stuff that they're taking. And neighbors don't even realize it.
And this is also an issue many seniors would rather not discuss. They'd rather not talk about it. They don't want to let anybody know they may have a problem, even once they realize it.
Yeah, well, the same thing happened, you know, when I grew up. You know, the old thing about the family was, hey, if Uncle Charlie has a problem, we'll keep it here. We won't tell the neighbors. We'll keep it here.
Keep it quiet. And
they do that in the senior community somewhat. You know, they keep, they have that electronic fence going around their community.
The invisible. Yeah. Now, what is the first thing a senior should do, or anyone really, when they recognize they have an alcohol or substance abuse problem? What's the first thing they should do?
Well, definitely let their physician know, their primary physician. The second thing is if they can either go down to talk to their church head if they want, you know, priest or pastor, or they can call the Ocean County Department of Alcohol and Drug Abuse.
That's under the Department of Health?
Department of Health.
Yeah. And what treatment options are available? What's the next step once you've reached out for help?
Well, there's several things you could do. You could, go down and visit with one of the local anonymous programs, the AA programs, NA programs, and see if you fit in there. And what will happen is that 9 times out of 10, someone will grab a hold of you and say, hey, you know, you need a little help? Well, then you'll get a sponsor.
But also, seniors may need to go to a treatment facility.
Yeah, and you can go to your physician or the county Department of Health. They have a place there. Or may be able to get you into a drug rehab like the Lighthouse or one of those agencies.
And Harry, how have you been able to stay sober? What have you been able to do to help keep yourself from going back? By
helping other alcoholics. And the thing about it is that it's just helping other alcoholics, I think, is about the happiest thing that I can do, especially when you can see that someone is actually doing what you've been doing. I quit smoking in 1985, and I quit drinking in 1990. I still reach into my pocket once in a while for a cigarette, and I just say, hey, stupid, you don't smoke anymore.
Yeah, well, addictions can be very
it's
powerful.
It's still there.
Yeah.
And alcohol, if I have a desire I want to drink, I just pick up a phone and call one of the people I work around with and talk.
Harry Morey, thank you so much for that important information and for being on The Best Years today.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Now, for a statewide directory of drug and alcohol treatment facilities, visit state.nj.us and click on Community and Wellness, then Counseling and Addiction Services. They say one man's trash is another man's treasure. Here's one business that's always on the lookout for potential treasures for the home and garden.
Hi, I'm Ralph Bertini, director of The Best Years. It's like a walk through bygone days. Architectural pieces, decorations, and memorabilia all lined up like a garden of history. If you love antiques, this is the place. Come on, I'll show you around. For the first-timer, a visit to Recycling the Past defies words. So much stuff, so many treasures, and for the creative designer, so many possibilities.
Recycling the Past is a company that I started probably I think it probably started when I was a kid. I would go to different shows with my father, like an auction, a farm auction. I'd go to the Dollar Wagon, and before you know it, by the end of the day, I'd have this huge pile of just whatever sold for $1. And it just eventually turned into an antique business, but then I slowly got into the architectural business, and from there it kind of just blossomed into whatever I liked. I only buy what I like, so Recycling the Past is basically a conglomeration of all my likes.
Literally thousands of pieces of architectural salvage have been procured to make this more than just a shop, but a one-of-a-kind treasure trove.
It reflects history, and I think we're beginning to hang on to what we can for history. To preserve what's important to people, especially in this day and age in our economy. There was a lot of consideration and thought that went into it, and I believe this is very important to see the craftsmanship of how things were made.
Oh, this stuff is really cool. Today, Matt White and his family have turned this love into a lucrative business, even earning him a spot on the Do-It-Yourself Network with his own reality show, Operation Salvage.
Ironically enough, we ended up on television with Operation Salvage, which was through the DIY channel. And what we did was we were able to kind of showcase what we do by going to the job site, finding the job, acquiring the job, the trials and tribulations, what we did with the materials that we bought from the job, turned them into different things, tables, counters, we redid a restaurant, and then we showed what was done with it in the end. So people want to see the home fix it with the economy, with the, people are spending more time working on their own homes than they are, say, traveling. Since the economy kind of took that little spin, people really want to see what's going on. Now, docu-soaps and reality TV has become so popular that a lot of channels are really searching for an aspect like that. They want to see what's going on. People like reality.
Even with this national recognition, Matt still keeps his doors open to locals who have objects of interest.
So if you have something that's really good, you can do a little research on the internet and kind of get a feel for it. But if you're going to go to another dealer, like myself or any other dealer across the country, you're going to have to be reasonable, or else you're not going to sell it. I mean, quite honestly, you're going to waste your time. It is important, though, to have a good sense of feel. I mean, you can also email us and we can give you a guesstimate on what we think it would be worth, but it's only worth what somebody's willing to give you. That's really kind of what it comes down to.
Matt says search for your treasures and embrace them. They might be as unique and valuable as this gargoyle salvaged from a Philadelphia church valued at over $17,000.
I've traveled the entire world searching for the neatest, oddest things I can find, and people respond well to it. We have designers, we have a lot of movies, we have a lot of restaurants, clothing companies, all coming here sourcing props. So I guess what Recycling the Past truly is one of the coolest, most unusual places you'd ever visit.
Browsers are always welcome at Recycling the Past. Open Tuesdays through Sundays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and by appointment. Or you can log on to recyclingthepast.com for more information. Excuse me, this is for me. From Barnegat, I'm Ralph Bertini reporting.
Coming up next, we'll take a trip through Ocean County's nautical past.